Jackson Walsh stood at the observation deck of the Terran diplomatic vessel, Horizon's Dawn, watching the swirling purple nebula of the Andromeda sector paint the cosmos in ethereal hues. The ship had been stationed at the newly established Nexus Point Station for 3 standard weeks, hosting various diplomatic meetings with the Galactic Confederation species. The gentle hum of the ship's quantum drives was interrupted by the soft chime of his neural interface. "Commander," the voice of his second-in-command, Lieutenant Rita Santos, echoed in his mind. "The Meridian delegation has arrived. There, different from what we expected." Walsh straightened his uniform and headed toward the diplomatic chamber. The Meridians were an ancient race, known for their mastery of biological sciences and their crystalline appearance. As he entered the chamber, he found himself facing 3 tall, translucent beings whose bodies seemed to pulse with internal light. The lead Meridian, Ambassador Cristallos, extended what appeared to be an appendage in greeting. "Commander Walsh, we are honored." The voice resonated not through air, but directly in Walsh's mind, accompanied by a subtle vibration that made his skin tingle. "The honor is ours, Ambassador," Walsh replied, maintaining his composure despite the strange sensation coursing through his body. He noticed Lieutenant Santos shifting uncomfortably beside him. What happened next would change the course of human-alien relations forever. As Cristallos moved closer to demonstrate their traditional greeting ritual, their crystalline form began emanating a specific frequency. Every human in the room suddenly experienced an unprecedented physiological response. Their neural patterns synchronized, heart rates accelerated, and their skin began emanating a faint, bluish glow. Dr. Harriet Wung, the ship's chief medical officer, burst into action, her handheld scanner whirring. "Commander, everyone's neural activity is spiking, but it's not dangerous. It's almost as if our bodies are attempting to match the Meridian's resonance frequency." The Meridians froze, their internal light pulsing rapidly in what seemed like excitement. "Impossible," Cristallos whispered into their minds. "No species has ever demonstrated resonance compatibility with our kind. This is unprecedented." Walsh felt the strange sensation intensify, bringing with it not discomfort, but a sense of expanded awareness. He could somehow sense the emotional states of his crew members, their surprise and wonder mixing with his own. "Your species," Cristallos continued, their voice filled with wonder, "appears to possess dormant crystalline structures within your cellular makeup. They're responding to our bioresonance in a way we've only theorized possible." News of the discovery spread through the station like wildfire. Within hours, representatives from dozens of species were demanding audiences, each hoping to understand how humans, considered a relatively young species, could possess such an extraordinary biological feature. Ambassador Cristallos called an emergency session with Walsh and his senior staff. "You must understand the significance," they explained. "This ability to adapt to our resonance frequency suggests your species has untapped potential that defies conventional evolutionary theory." But as Walsh watched various alien delegations arguing over research rights and diplomatic access, a sense of unease crept over him. In the corner of the chamber, he noticed a shadowy figure from the Syndicate of Advanced Species taking detailed notes, their multiple eyes gleaming with an interest that seemed far from purely scientific. Lieutenant Santos approached him quietly. "Sir, I'm picking up encrypted transmissions. Several species are already discussing the strategic implications of our biological quirk." Walsh nodded grimly. What had started as a simple diplomatic meeting had unveiled something that could either elevate humanity's standing in the galaxy or make them targets. The question was, which would it be? As the day drew to a close, Walsh retreated to his quarters, his mind racing with possibilities and concerns. Humanity had just stumbled into something bigger than first contact. They had accidentally revealed an evolutionary wild card that nobody, not even humans themselves, had known they possessed. The gentle hum of the ship now carried a different weight. Somewhere in the vastness of space, decisions were being made about humanity's future. Walsh could only hope they were prepared for what would come next. The Grand Council chamber of Nexus Point Station hummed with tension as representatives from 17 different species argued over the implications of humanity's newly discovered ability. Commander Walsh sat beside Earth's chief diplomat, Margaret Chen, watching as holographic displays showed the spreading ripples of bioresonance incidents across various human-alien contact points. The Terrans must submit to immediate scientific evaluation, demanded High Executor Vex of the Syndicate, his obsidian scales gleaming under the chamber's ambient lighting. This ability to synchronize with meridian frequencies could have far-reaching consequences for galactic security. Margaret Chen rose slowly, her weathered face showing no trace of intimidation. The United Earth government will not submit its citizens to involuntary testing. Any research collaboration must be conducted under mutual agreement and oversight. From across the chamber, a whisper-thin voice cut through the tension. Director Nexus of the Quantum Collective, there form a shimmering array of light particles, spoke with calculated precision. Perhaps we are approaching this discovery from the wrong angle. The human's ability suggests they may be descended from an ancient species we thought lost to time. Walsh felt his neural interface buzz with incoming data. Lieutenant Santos was sending him real-time analysis of the chamber's hidden emotional currents, detected through subtle atmospheric changes. The various species were broadcasting everything from fear to eagerness, with underlying currents of something darker. Ambassador Crystallos moved to the center of the chamber, their crystalline form casting rainbow refractions across the walls. We have conducted preliminary analysis of the resonance phenomenon. The humans appear to possess dormant crystalline structures similar to our own, but with a crucial difference: they can adapt to multiple frequency patterns. The chamber erupted in chaos. The implications were staggering. If humans could naturally attune to different species' biofrequencies, they might be able to bridge biological gaps that had separated galactic civilizations for millennia. This is precisely why we must study them, Vex insisted, his auxiliary arms gesturing emphatically. Such ability could be weaponized. What if humans can influence other species through these resonance patterns? Dr. Wang, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, stepped forward. Our preliminary research suggests this is impossible. The resonance is purely receptive. We can attune to your frequencies, but we cannot project or manipulate them. But Walsh noticed the damage was done. Fear had been planted in the minds of several delegations. He watched as representatives from the hegemony of United Worlds huddled together, their tentacles intertwined in what he recognized as a gesture of concern. Margaret Chen seized the moment. What you fear as a weapon, we see as a bridge. Humanity's ability to resonate with other species makes us natural diplomats, capable of truly understanding different forms of life at a biological level. Director Nexus's light form pulsed thoughtfully. The diplomat speaks truth, yet we cannot ignore the strategic implications. If humans can naturally attune to multiple species, they could theoretically access biological information networks previously thought secure. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Walsh noticed Ambassador Crystallos examining a data crystal with intense focus, their internal light fluctuating rapidly. Something about their behavior seemed off, but he couldn't quite place why. Lieutenant Santos's voice whispered through his neural interface. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from several delegations. They're using quantum entanglement communicators, sending messages outside official channels." Walsh kept his face neutral even as his mind raced. The discovery of humanity's bioresonance ability was quickly becoming a catalyst for something larger. Political alliances were shifting in real time as species reevaluated their positions based on this new factor in the galactic equation. Margaret Chen concluded her address to the chamber. "We propose a joint research initiative with representatives from all major species working together to understand this phenomenon. Transparency and collaboration are the only ways forward." As the session adjourned, Walsh caught sight of a shadow moving along the chamber's upper reaches, a member of the enigmatic Void Collective, species known for their mastery of dark matter technology. Their presence at what should have been a purely diplomatic gathering sent a chill down his spine. Something bigger was brewing in the dark corners of galactic politics, and humanity's biological quirk had just become the match that might ignite it all. Dr. Harriet Wang stared at the holographic display floating above her lab station on Nexus Point, her eyes tracing the intricate patterns of human cellular structure. The crystalline formations within the cells pulsed with a faint blue light, responding to the controlled frequency emissions from the Meridian research equipment. "Fascinating," muttered Professor Zal, a quantum collective scientist whose form shimmered like starlight. "The crystalline structures aren't just responding, they're evolving. Each exposure to a new frequency creates new neural pathways." The joint research initiative had been underway for 3 weeks, bringing together the brightest minds from across the galaxy. Their lab, a state-of-the-art facility provided by the Galactic Confederation, hummed with activity as scientists from various species worked to understand humanity's unique ability. Lieutenant Santos entered the lab, her neural interface glowing softly. "Doctor, we've received reports of similar resonance events occurring at human colonies across 3 sectors. The ability appears to be strengthening with each interaction." Wang pulled up the new data, her expression growing concerned. "The adaptation rate is increasing exponentially. It's as if human biology is learning from each encounter, becoming more efficient at establishing resonance connections." From the corner of the lab, a dark figure emerged, Dr. Void, representative of the Void Collective. Their form seemed to bend light around itself, creating an unsettling visual effect. "Perhaps this is not adaptation but awakening. These structures may have always been present, dormant until now." Commander Walsh arrived at the lab, his face tight with concern. "Dr. Wang, we need to talk. The Syndicate is pushing for more invasive testing protocols. They're claiming this rapid adaptation poses a security risk." Before Wang could respond, her holographic display flickered with new data. The cellular samples were showing unprecedented activity. The crystalline structures were beginning to form patterns that matched Meridian communication frequencies. Professor Zal's form pulsed with excitement. "Impossible! They're not just resonating anymore, they're replicating the frequency patterns. This goes beyond simple biological response." Walsh stepped closer to the display, his military training causing him to immediately see the strategic implications. "Are you saying humans aren't just receiving these frequencies, but learning to generate them?" "Not exactly," Wang replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "The crystals aren't generating new frequencies, they're creating perfect mirrors of existing ones. It's like humanity has evolved to be a universal translator on a biological level." The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just compatible with alien biology. They were potentially capable of bridging every biological communication gap in the known galaxy. Dr. Void moved closer to the samples, their dark form seeming to absorb the light around them. "This could reshape the fundamental understanding of interspecies communication. Or," they paused meaningfully, "it could destabilize millennia of carefully maintained biological security protocols." Santos's neural interface suddenly pulsed red. "Commander, we're detecting unauthorized data transmissions from within the station. Someone's leaking our research findings." Walsh's expression hardened. "Location." "Multiple points, sir, including," Santos hesitated, "including from within this lab." The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Trust, already fragile in this interspecies collaboration, began to crack. Wang noticed Professor Zal's form flickering more rapidly, while Dr. Void seemed to grow even darker. "Lock down all research data," Walsh commanded. "Effective immediately, this project is under Terran military oversight." But as Wang began the shutdown procedures, her holographic display caught her attention. The cellular samples were showing new activity, patterns she'd never seen before. The crystalline structures weren't just mirroring frequencies anymore. They were beginning to create hybrid patterns, combining different species' signatures into entirely new forms of communication. "Commander," she called out, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't think we can lock this down anymore. The changes. They're not just in our samples. They're happening in every human who's been exposed to alien frequencies. We're all evolving right now in real time." The implications hung in the air like a physical weight. Humanity wasn't just breaking the rules of galactic biology, they were rewriting them entirely. And not everyone in the galaxy would be happy about that. The encrypted message arrived on Commander Walsh's neural interface at 300 station time. Lieutenant Santos had traced the source of the data leaks to a surprising origin: the Meridians themselves. As Walsh made his way through the dimly lit corridors of Nexus Point, his mind raced with possibilities. Ambassador Cristallos waited in a secured chamber, their crystalline form dimmer than usual. "Commander, what I'm about to tell you will change everything you understand about your species' place in the galaxy." "You knew about our ability before the first contact, didn't you?" Walsh's voice was steady, controlled. The Meridian's form pulsed with confirmation. "Your species was not an accident. The crystalline structures in your biology, they were engineered millions of years ago by our ancestors." Dr. Wang and Lieutenant Santos entered the chamber, having been summoned by Walsh. The doctor's handheld scanner hummed as it analyzed the unusual energy patterns emanating from Cristallos. "The Void Collective," Cristallos continued. "They were once like us crystalline beings, but they chose to evolve differently, embracing dark matter to enhance their powers. They've been searching for millennia for species with compatible biology that they could influence." Santos's neural interface buzzed with incoming data. "Sir, the unauthorized transmissions we detected, they weren't just going to the Syndicate. They were being routed through quantum channels to the Void Collective's home system." "They want to use us," Walsh realized. "Our ability to adapt and mirror frequencies. They want to turn humans into biological conduits for their dark matter manipulation." Cristallos's form brightened slightly. "Precisely. But what they don't understand is that your evolution has surpassed even our ancient designs. You're not just mirrors anymore, you're becoming something entirely new." Dr. Wang's scanner beeped urgently. "Commander, the crystalline structures in human cells. They're not just creating hybrid frequencies anymore. They're generating completely new patterns, ones that have never existed before." A shadow detached itself from the wall Dr. Void had been listening. Their dark forms seemed to writhe with anger. "So, the Meridians finally reveal their grand experiment, but you're too late. The process has already begun." Throughout the station, alarms began to blare. Lieutenant Santos's neural interface flooded with emergency signals. "Sir, they're attempting to activate some kind of quantum resonance field across the station. Every human on board is being affected." But instead of the chaos Dr. Void clearly expected, something extraordinary happened. The humans aboard Nexus Point didn't fall under their control, they adapted. The crystalline structures in their cells didn't just resist the dark matter influence. They transformed it, creating a new kind of energy pattern that rippled through the station like a wave of light. The Grand Council chamber of Nexus Point had never been so full. Representatives from every known species gathered to witness what many were calling the dawn of a new galactic age. Commander Walsh stood at the center, the crystalline structures within his cells now visibly glowing beneath his skin. "What we witnessed was not just an attack," Walsh addressed the assembly, his voice carrying new harmonics that resonated with every species present. "It was the catalyst for the next step in human evolution, one that our Meridian ancestors apparently planned for, but could never have fully predicted." Dr. Wang stepped forward, her holographic displays showing the transformation in human cellular structure. "The crystalline matrices in our biology have evolved beyond simple resonance. They've become universal translators, not just of communication, but of energy itself. We can now bridge the gap between normal matter and dark matter, between organic and crystalline life forms." The Void Collective's representatives had been contained, their dark matter manipulation rendered ineffective by humanity's new abilities. But more importantly, humans had become living bridges between all forms of life in the galaxy. Lieutenant Santos demonstrated by establishing a direct biological connection between a meridian crystal being and a quantum energy creature from the collective, allowing them to communicate directly for the first time in galactic history. The chamber filled with gasps of wonder as ancient barriers between species began to fall. "We understand the fear our abilities initially caused," Walsh continued. "The possibility of biological manipulation, of weapons and control. But what we've become is something far more important. We're mediators, translators, bridges between all forms of life." Ambassador Cristallos moved to stand beside Walsh, their crystalline form harmonizing with the human's new energy signature. "Our ancestors saw the potential in humanity, but you have surpassed every expectation. You haven't just adapted to the galaxy, you've given us all a way to truly understand each other." High Executor Vex, who had once demanded human containment, now stood in support. "The Syndicate recognizes this transformation not as a threat, but as an opportunity for genuine unity in our galaxy." The dark matter crisis had been averted, but more importantly, it had pushed humanity into an evolutionary leap that would reshape galactic society. The fear of human biological adaptability had transformed into hope for a more connected future. Dr. Wang's final scans confirmed what they all now knew. The crystalline structures in human cells had stabilized into their new form, permanent but ever-evolving. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as a security risk, but as the key to universal understanding. As the council session concluded, Walsh looked out at the swirling purple nebula visible through the station's viewing ports. The same view that had greeted him weeks ago now seemed different, not just beautiful, but full of possibilities for connection and growth. Lieutenant Santos approached with a final report. "Sir, we're receiving requests from colonies across the galaxy. Everyone wants human mediators now. We've gone from potential weapons to the most sought-after diplomats in known space." Walsh smiled, watching the subtle play of crystalline light beneath his skin. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from our greatest fears. We just have to be willing to evolve beyond them." The story of humanity's biological quirk had transformed from a tale of potential conflict into one of unity. In breaking the rules of galactic biology, humans had rewritten them for everyone, creating a future where understanding transcended the boundaries of species and energy forms alike.